Hello, guys. Hello. And welcome to Storytime with Alex. I managed to find a book. Like I said, I haven't been to the library and all, so. But here, we're reading Peter Pan. You got Captain Hook, Peter Pan, and Tinkerbell in the corner there. Now this book has no pictures. Okay? No pictures. I'm going to read one chapter at a time. Today I'm going to read a chapter, and next week I'm going to read a chapter, and so on. So, yeah, let's get started. Just a moment. Chapter 1. Peter breaks through. All children except one must grow up. The way Wendy knew was this one day. Let me start over. All children except one must grow up. The way Wendy knew was this. One day, when she was a very little girl, she picked a flower from the garden to show her mother. Miss Darling, she held the flower over her heart. "Oh, Wendy," she said with a loving smile, "why can't you stay like this forever?" Wendy said. Wendy was just 2 years old, but from that moment on, she knew that she must grow up. Wendy's mother was a lovely lady. Miss Darling knew that Mr. Darling knew that when he married her, he loved her, and she loved him. He liked to boast that she also respected him, which she did. At first, the Darlings worried if they could afford children, but before each child was born, Miss Darling said, "Of course we can." Oh my goodness, guys, I cannot read today. At first, the Darlings worried if they could afford children, but before each child was born, Miss Darling said, "Of course we can. George will watch every penny." First came Wendy, then John, and Michael was last. The Darlings had a nurse for the children because Miss Darling liked everything just so, and Mr. Darling wanted to be just like their neighbors, but since they were poor, the nurse was Nana, a very proper Newfoundland dog, but they found in Kingston Gardens. Nana was a very good nurse. She learned to be a nurse by watching the other nurses in the park. She made sure the children bathed properly. She knew when a cough was just a cough and nothing serious. And if one of them cried at night, she was up in an instant to see why. That was easy because she lived in the children's room. When the children started school, Nana made sure that they got there safely. She walked primly alongside them, butting anyone who strayed out of line. She made sure John didn't forget his soccer sweater, and if it looked like rain, she carried an umbrella in her mouth. At school, Nana stayed in the basement while the children sat in the classrooms upstairs. Nana didn't like Miss Darling's friends to make surprise visits to the children's room, But if they came, she quickly dressed Michael in a clean outfit, brushed Wendy's hair, and tried to her best to do something with John's hair. Excuse me. She was a very proper nurse, even though Mr. Darling wondered if the neighbors thought it odd to have a dog for a nurse. After all, he had his position in the city too to consider. There were never a happier family until the coming of Peter Pan. Miss Darling first heard of Peter while tidying up her children's minds when they were asleep. Children don't. Hmm. Children don't know mothers do this, but they do. It's a little like tidying up drawers. Every child has a special place called Neverland, filled with strange and wonderful spots that are his or her very own. Every Neverland is different. Some have rivers and reefs, and gnomes and princesses, and caves of every kind. Others, like John's, had a lagoon where he lived on the sand in a boat turned upside down. Michael's also had oh my goodness, had a lagoon, but he lived in a wigwam, while Wendy's had a house made of leaves. Neverland is filled with wonderful adventures, and at night, just before you go to sleep, it seems very, very real. Miss Darling did not know anyone named Peter, but there he was in each child's mind. "Who is Peter?" she asked Wendy. "He is Peter Pan," Wendy replied. At first, Miss Darling was puzzled. Then she remembered her own childhood and someone called Peter Pan, who was said to live with fairies. People said he comforted children. Miss Darling believed in him then, but he is grown up now, she said to Wendy. "Oh, no," Wendy said. "He isn't grown up at all. He's just my size." Miss Darling told Mr. Darling about Peter Pan. He laughed and said, "That was some of Nana's nonsense. Forget it, and it will go away." He said, but it didn't. One morning, Wendy awoke to find tree leaves scattered about the bedroom floor. They weren't there when she and the boys had gone to bed. "Oh, it was just Peter," she said when her mother asked how they got there. "He didn't wipe his feet as he should when he comes into the window." Wendy smiled. "Sometimes he comes in at night and plays his pipes at the foot of my bed," she said. Miss Darling was shocked. Why you must have been dreaming," she said. "But the leaves were real and come from a tree," she said, she had never seen before. Wendy had not been dreaming, and the very next night an extraordinary adventure began. It was Nana's night off, so Mrs. Darling tucked the children into bed. She gazed at them tenderly as she sat by the fireplace to sew. The fire was warm and the room was bathed in soft light. Soon she began to doze. While she slept, she had a dream. In the dream, Neverland came much too near, and a strange boy got out. The boy had torn the curtain that usually covers Neverland, and Wendy and John and Michael were peeking through. And there is a picture, guys. Look. Peter Pan. I hope y'all are enjoying this. It's the best I can do, guys. Alright. Miss Darling dreamed the nursery window flew open and the boy flew into the room. She thought she recognized him. At his side was a tiny bright light no bigger than a fist. It darted through the room as if it were as if it were alive. The strange light awakened Miss Darling. She put her hand over her hand to her mouth in surprise, for she knew at once that the boy was Peter Pan. Miss Darling cried out at the sight of the strange boy. At the moment Nana entered the room, back from her evening out. She too saw the boy, and not knowing what to think, leaped at him with a fierce growl. And that was chapter 1, guys. So, thank you for joining us on story time. And just a moment. Anyway, thank you for joining us for story time. And we will read the next chapter next week. I hope you enjoyed it. So that was the first chapter of Peter Pan. And Alex and I say, mwah, love you all, and thank you for joining us for story time. I'm going to upload this video, and I'm probably going to do another video of the girls in their new outfits, and I'll show you the items they received also. So, y'all have a great weekend. Have a great weekend, not just a good weekend. Much love. Bye-bye.